Hey everyone, it's Dave here.
And it's Tom here. So this is Dead Island, the definitive edition, running against the original version. Now don't worry, we'll be covering the PS4 and Xbox One differences later on in this video, but for now the more pertinent question really is, what does this new version add over the original? Now I understand this is a new engine, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Basically, Techland are using Chrome Engine 6, which is the same technology that was used to create Dying Light.
Oh really? Okay. So it adds a few new features over the last build, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of changes throughout this entire game. So the most prominent, I think, is the use of a brand new lighting model and physically based shading. So as you can probably notice, surfaces like the sand and the water surface look a lot more natural in this remastered version than they do in the original. And that carries on to pretty much most aspects throughout the game as well.
So do we have updated geometry? I mean, the materials on top react realistically to light, but do we get new geometric meshes as well, or?
We do, yeah. Large parts of the environment have been completely remodeled, as have the characters, so things are a bit smoother and we get more intricate detail on certain objects like rocks and things like that. So it's been a pretty extensive remastering process on that front.
That's pretty cool. And I guess the next thing I've noticed is they've added more post-process effects, like we've got this haze running over the front of this bridge sequence here. Are there any other kind of effects added like this, or?
There are, yeah. We've got camera and object motion blur and an enhanced depth of field effect.
Okay, and there are new rain effects I noticed as well.
Yeah, I think what they've done here is just try to keep things a bit more realistic. So the original had some very blatant sort of water splash effects, whereas in this one they've kind of changed it to be a bit more subtle to fit in with the materials and other systems.
It's quite striking seeing how everything's kind of stitched together, because it is exactly the same layout, but they've kind of gone through everything and just replaced the assets and the effects riding over the top of that with a more kind of current gen implementation of it. It's just like a generational leap in some respects, but in others you can kind of see that older version and the design choices that went into that come through. But still, yeah, it's a good looking game, and I think if you're going to jump in, it's a pretty clear cut choice where you want to go.
Yeah, it's definitely a more palatable version of Dead Island to play. There are some rough elements, like character animation for instance is pretty dated, but if you liked the original and want to play it again with modern day visuals, then this is definitely not going to disappoint in that respect. You know, there's been a successful remastering effort carried out here.
Okay, so shall we move on to the console comparisons? I think we saved this for last because actually there's not a lot to talk about.
Now, it's surprisingly close outside of performance, and in fact I'd go as far as to say they look identical.
So we're getting 1080p on both?
Yep, native 1080p on both with post-process anti-aliasing, which has a sort of temporal component.
So that's going to be, you get trails behind it, kind of a ghosting behind moving objects.
Yeah, and it's particularly noticeable during cutscenes, which can be really distracting. It's sort of laid on a bit thick.
Okay, well, besides that, it's just the performance then, and I think in the other video we have described a 30 FPS almost lock on PS4, which in itself is a bit disappointing, but then you're looking at the Xbox One and it's fine for the original game, but on the Riptide sequel it's letting the team down, let's say.
I guess it's the demands of the new engine and all the effects. They've basically gone for targeting 30 FPS and sort of ramped up the eye candy rather than sort of going for 60 here.
But we have to stress that that was without the patch, so we'll see if that changes anything. Anyway, thanks Dave, I think that about covers it. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.
Activate!